So it's come down to today's video. We're finally all going to release our watches for the best watch that we can find for under £150 or roughly $200. I've gone with another homage watch because I know last time James won with the Steel Dive Willard. I don't think this homage watch can be topped. It's from a big brand that we all know and love. So I think I've got this one in the bag. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Troy. I'm bold and I collect watches. Alright, let's get into this little beauty. Now this watch usually lands at around £180, but full disclosure, I managed to play the game just right and snag it for under that £150 mark. Yeah, that glorious price point that makes it eligible for this competition. I grabbed mine from a place called Fraser's right here in the UK. Now I know what you might be thinking, a whole 30 quid off RRP? Groundbreaking. And okay, I get it, it's not a Black Friday bonanza. But honestly, for this price, I genuinely think that this watch is unbeatable. And that's not just because of the Snoopy connection, because let's be real, who doesn't love a Snoopy watch? The real magic here is that it gracefully homaging a watch that's, well, it's a lot more expensive, which means, in my humble opinion, this one has to be seriously considered by you guys as the best pick, especially when you're just looking at value. Now, if you're sitting there scratching your head wondering what on earth this watch is homaging, then I'm going to assume you've been living under a rock, or somehow you've managed to completely miss one of the most celebrated anniversary releases in recent watch history. I'm talking, of course, about the legendary Omega Speedmaster 50th Anniversary Silver Snoopy Award. Yeah, that one. That watch casually sells for a cool £12,000. So suddenly, this £150 Timex doesn't look so bad. And let's be clear, while this isn't a Swiss made marvel like the Omega, Timex has its own incredible heritage. We're talking about a long timeline of heavy hitters and truly iconic timepieces. This is a brand, after all, that famously coined the phrase, "it takes a licking and keeps on ticking." While not as old or universally revered as Omega, Timex certainly commands a lot of respect from us guys in the watch collecting space. For those who know their Timex history, the Q Timex was first launched back in the 70s, and Timex has made a smart move by keeping the original design language perfectly intact. You've got that distinct angular case shape and those wonderfully sharp polished edges. It looks absolutely amazing, and it's definitely a design I find myself consistently gravitating towards. And that stainless steel just isn't for show. It's a smart choice, especially when you look at some of Timex's more budget-friendly options, which use brass cases with plating. Stainless steel gives you that extra bit of durability and scratch resistant. You're getting a watch that's built to last, and it's looking good whilst it's doing it. What I also really appreciate is the multi-layered look of the case itself. It's not just flat, the design choice really gives the watch some excellent depth and keeps it from looking bland or boring. You get a sense of dimension here that you don't always see at this price point. And that transition from the main case to the fixed bezel, it looks fantastic. It contributes perfectly to that sharp, angular aesthetic. Now, because this is a chronograph, naturally we have the tachometer bezel. It's finished in black and its whole job is to help you measure average speed when you're using the chrono function. Full disclosure, I'll probably never actually use it for that purpose. Who among us really does? But I still think it looks really cool. That black finish really helps the watch's design flow, tying in perfectly with the black subdials and the black strap. It just brings the whole look together and keeps that vintage vibe flowing. Speaking of details, let's talk about the crown. It's actually signed with that little Q logo, which is a neat touch. Honestly, you often find these small details overlooked on more budget-friendly watches, so kudos to Timex here. Now, fair warning, it is a slightly smaller crown, and because it's nestled right there between your chronograph pushers, it can be a little fiddly to set the time and date. Just a heads up for when you first get your hands on it. And those pushers, the top one is your standard start and stop for the chronograph hand, while the bottom pusher takes care of resetting it right back to its starting position. Now let's flip this bad boy over, because what I really love is this case back. How can you not? You've got the entire Peanuts crew here, laser engraved for all its glory. It's such a fantastic detail and it makes it really special. It's a screw down case back and you can actually remove it with a small crosshead screwdriver. Now you might think, oh, that's handy for battery changes. But you're wrong, because the Q Timex models have this super cool feature. You can remove just a small section of the case back specifically just for the battery. It's like a little trapdoor for power, meaning battery changes are ridiculously simple. No need for a full watchmaker's toolkit, you can practically do this with your eyes closed. Well, maybe one eye open and a tool that costs about £3 from AliExpress, but you catch my drift. Now, inside this little beauty, as you might have gathered from that handy battery panel on the back, is a quartz movement. In fact, it's the Epsom YM12A, a chronograph movement part of the Seiko family. And get this, it offers a whopping 5-year battery life. But I know, this might go against me in the competition, because I'm sure most of you out there were probably hoping to see a lovely automatic watch, am I right? But hear me out. For me, it's not actually about what powers this watch, it's about what powers me. And frankly, it makes me kind of feel a bit rebellious. Here I am, a 40-something-year-old man, rocking a Snoopy watch on my wrist, and quite frankly,
Yeah, I don't give a damn.
it constantly reminds me of that much more expensive Speedmaster. And in a weird way, it kind of makes me feel like I'm wearing one. Yeah, you watch snobs out there are probably having a good chuckle right now, but you know what? I buy what I like and I wear what I love. And honestly, that's what this hobby should be really about. Oh, and those servicing costs on an automatic watch, they can run into hundreds, if not thousands. So there you go. The perfect watch under £150 just became more admirable. Still keeping that retro vintage vibe going strong, we have this glorious piece of domed mineral crystal sitting proudly on the top. Now, no, it's not sapphire, but honestly, at this price point, I really didn't expect that. So yeah, it'll probably show some scratches over time. But again, this is your watch, and each one of those scratches tells a story, right? So wear this watch with pride, because let's be real, if I possessed that £12,000 Omega, that thing would be in a safe, probably behind a rock solid wall, and I'd get absolutely no enjoyment out of it whatsoever. And that takes us right back to my earlier comment: buy what you like and wear what you love. And honestly, this crystal just sits atop in all its domed glory. It's truly one of the features I really, really do love about this timepiece. And I'm sure the other choices of watches in this challenge won't be half as pretty as my choice. Now we move on to the dial and hands. And guys, it's here that I think I may have won the competition. Yeah, that little Snoopy on the dial. It's an homage, much like James's 2023 winner with his glorious Willard by Steel Dive. But here's the kicker: this isn't just any homage. This is a branded homage to a much more exclusive and generally harder to obtain timepiece, like that Speedy. And speaking of iconic looks, we've got that classic Panda dial. Because of its crisp black and white styling, it just pops. There's no denying it. And it's not just a nod to one Swiss powerhouse, but actually another, the Rolex Daytona. So we're homaging not just one, but two icons here. That's multitasking at its finest. At the 12 o'clock position, Timex has cleverly opted for an applied Q marker, just to make sure you know that this is part of their Q lineup. This is finished in black, just like the stick hands and the outer part of those crisp indices. The minute track is also printed in black, perfectly matching all the other printed text. You'll spot a date window nestled at the 4:30 mark. Now, I'll admit, this is a placement I'm generally not super fond of, but on a chronograph, I can definitely dig it. It's a white date wheel which subtly complements that silvery white dial. Personally, I would have loved to see a radial design on these chronograph subdials, just adding a little bit more texture. But honestly, this flat black works. It's absolutely perfect with this crisp white printed text. The 9 o'clock subdial is where our little Snoopy lives, and this is also conveniently reads your seconds. Over at the 3 o'clock, that dial is your hours, and the 6 o'clock dial handles your minutes when you're using that chronograph function. I genuinely think this dial alone is going to help me beat my competitors hands down. But hey, only time will tell. Now, if I'm being brutally honest, the loom is definitely the weak part of this watch. It's not going to be lighting up your bedside table at 3 a.m., put it that way. But truth be told, I generally don't care, because I want to stare at this watch all day long in the glorious daylight. We certainly don't want any darkness hiding this beauty, do we? And besides, poor old Snoopy might be scared of the dark. So yeah, the loom's not my priority here. Moving on to the strap, because a watch is only as comfortable as what's holding it to your wrist, right? This is a thick, genuine leather strap. But don't let thick fool you. It's actually really flexible. It's way softer than I imagined it would be, and it's a pleasant surprise. It's also got this fantastic mottled effect, which I think looks really fab. It tapers down from 22 millimeters to 17 millimeters, allowing it to fit your wrist perfectly, creating a really nice balance. You've got two keepers here. One's floating, which is standard, and the other one is static. And naturally, the buckle is polished and it's marked with the Timex logo. Now, that angular case might trick you into thinking you're stuck with the supplied strap forever, or that you might need something custom. But fear not, you absolutely don't have to. As long as your strap width is 18 millimeters, it'll fit beautifully. If you want to get a Q Timex style strap, there are a few companies online that do offer custom made ones as well. Timex has given us quick release pins here, which, let's be honest, are an absolute godsend for easy strap changes. Alright, let's take a look at what it looks like on my wrist and how does this thing actually wear. Let's find out. So on my 7-inch wrist, the case size is perfect. With the down sloping angular lugs, it wears really well. The dimensions are as follows: 40mm case size, case with crown is 42.5mm, lug to lug is 46.1mm, thickness is 14.6mm, and the lug width is 18mm. The watch feels comfy on the wrist and not too bulky. There is, of course, that extra height due to the domed crystal, but like I've said, that's what adds to this watch's charm and gives it so much character. And that wraps up today's watch and my contender for the Watch Challenge Royal Rumble. Did I find the best watch for under £150? I think so. Head over to my community tab and vote for me. But please make sure you're subscribed to all the other challengers. Hit them up on Instagram as well. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. And remember, I'm an enthusiast and not an expert. Cheers.